Your hair has been thinning for a while now, even if you haven't fully realized it yet, because this kind of damage never announces itself loudly. It happens quietly, day after day, while you continue eating the same foods you believe are healthy, trusting that age or genetics must be the reason. Meanwhile, your hair follicles have been slowly weakening, deprived of the nutrients they depend on, until one morning you look in the mirror and wonder when your hair began to fade. I'm Dr. Eliza Hart, a board-certified gynecologist with over 15 years of experience in women's health hormonal balance and the subtle changes that often begin long before we see them clearly. Over the years, I've seen how closely hair health is connected to nutrition, circulation, and internal signals, especially for senior women who are often told this is simply a normal part of aging. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 specific foods that support hair health from the inside out, not as quick fixes, but as nourishment your hair follicles can actually respond to over time. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling me which country you're watching from so I can see how this message is reaching women around the world. And be sure to watch until the very end, because I'll show you how all of this fits together in a simple, practical way that supports your hair over time. Now let's begin. 1. Collagen peptides, structural support for hair fibers. Now that we've named the problem, let's begin with the first tool many women overlook because it sounds too simple. Think of your hair follicle as a living factory. It can't produce strong strands on hope alone, and it can't build keratin efficiently when the supply of specific amino acids is inconsistent. In midlife and beyond, that inconsistency is common, especially when appetite drops, meals get lighter, or protein is spread too thin across the day. Collagen peptides can help because they deliver a concentrated source of glycine and proline, 2 amino acids your body relies on in structural tissues. Hair itself is primarily keratin, but the follicle sits inside scalp skin and connective tissue, and that support layer influences how well the follicle is fed, protected, and anchored. When the body has limited building blocks, it prioritizes organs that keep you alive, and hair is often treated as non-essential, so shedding and breakage show up first. What does evidence support without exaggeration? The strongest human data for oral collagen peptides is for skin quality, not instant hair regrowth. For example, a randomized controlled trial by Proksch and colleagues, Skin Pharmacology and Physiology, reported improved skin elasticity after several weeks of collagen peptide supplementation. That matters because your scalp is skin too, and healthier skin structure can support a healthier follicle environment. Hair-focused clinical studies are fewer and results vary, so I treat collagen as supportive nutrition rather than a guarantee of regrowth. Consistency matters more than clever timing. Many protocols use a daily amount within the range studied for collagen peptides, and people take it in coffee, tea, or a smoothie simply because that's the easiest habit to keep. If you prefer food-first, collagen-rich broths can contribute, but the protein amount varies widely by preparation. Here's the part that changes results. Pair the habit with adequate overall protein and include vitamin C-rich foods through the week because vitamin C supports collagen formation in tissues. Give this 8 to 12 weeks of steady use, and the earliest changes many senior women notice are less breakage-improved strand feel and subtle new growth wisps around the hairline that become clearer over time. 2. Vitamin C-rich fruits. Collagen activation and scalp protection. Once the structural foundation of the hair fiber is supported, the next question is whether your body can truly activate and use those building blocks effectively. This is where vitamin C becomes critical, especially for women whose diets appear healthy yet fail to support hair at the cellular level. Without enough vitamin C, the body struggles to convert amino acids into functional collagen, leaving hair follicles undernourished. Even when protein intake seems adequate, vitamin C plays 2 essential roles in hair health. First, it acts as a powerful antioxidant, helping neutralize oxidative stress that accumulates around the scalp with aging inflammation and reduced circulation. This damage does not cause sudden hair loss, but it gradually weakens follicle cells, shortens the growth phase, and increases the likelihood of premature shedding. Research published in Dermatoendocrinology has shown that chronic oxidative stress disrupts normal follicle cycling, particularly in aging skin, making antioxidant support increasingly important over time. Equally important, vitamin C is required for collagen synthesis itself. It functions as a cofactor for enzymes that stabilize newly formed collagen fibers, allowing them to maintain strength within connective tissue. Without this step, collagen production remains incomplete, regardless of how many amino acids are available. In practical terms, hair follicles may receive raw materials, but lack the biological signal needed to assemble them into durable structural support. Vitamin C also enhances iron absorption, directly influencing oxygen delivery to the scalp. Even mild iron deficiency has been associated with increased hair shedding in women, particularly later in life. A study published in the Journal of Trace Elements in Medicine and Biology demonstrated that vitamin C significantly improves non-heme iron absorption, helping support tissue oxygenation where circulation is already compromised. From a clinical perspective, vitamin C-rich fruits offer a reliable and gentle way to support these processes. Citrus fruits, berries, kiwi, and papaya provide vitamin C in a bioavailable form, while also supplying polyphenols that help protect scalp blood vessels. Over time, consistent intake supports a healthier scalp environment, allowing hair follicles to remain active and responsive rather than slowly retreating into dormancy. As we continue, this activation step becomes essential because once collagen pathways and scalp protection are in place, the body is prepared to benefit from nutrients that support oxygen delivery and follicle renewal more effectively. 3. Dark leafy greens, oxygen and follicle renewal. After collagen support and scalp protection are established, hair health often becomes limited by a more fundamental factor, oxygen delivery. Hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the body, constantly dividing and renewing, which means they require a steady supply of oxygen to remain in the growth phase. When oxygen delivery weakens, follicles do not stop suddenly. Instead, they slow down, remain longer in the resting phase, and gradually produce finer, weaker strands. Dark leafy greens support this process because they provide iron together with folate and vitamin C, a combination that directly influences how efficiently oxygen reaches the scalp. Iron is essential for the formation of hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells responsible for transporting oxygen throughout the body. When iron levels decline even mildly, oxygen delivery becomes less efficient, and hair follicles are often among the first tissues to show signs of stress. Clinical evidence published in the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology has shown a strong association between iron deficiency in women and increased hair shedding. Folate adds another critical layer of support. As a B vitamin involved in DNA synthesis and cell division, folate helps hair follicles sustain their rapid turnover rate. Without adequate folate, new hair cells are produced more slowly, shortening the growth phase and contributing to progressive thinning. What makes dark leafy greens especially effective is that they deliver these nutrients in a naturally balanced form. Spinach kale. Swiss chard and arugula provide iron alongside vitamin C, which improves iron absorption and supports more stable oxygen delivery to the scalp. Light cooking can further enhance mineral availability, making these greens easier for the body to use consistently. Clinically improved oxygen delivery often appears first as reduced daily shedding and more stable hair texture before visible regrowth appears. This stage matters because without sufficient oxygen and cellular renewal, even well-supported follicles struggle to maintain long-term growth. As you reflect on this, notice where you truly stand right now. If leafy greens are already part of your routine, comment. If they've quietly disappeared from your plate, comment 0, because what comes next explains why circulation and inflammation play a far bigger role than most women expect. 4. Nuts and seeds, circulation and inflammation control. Once oxygen delivery is supported, the next factor that often limits hair recovery is circulation quality and low-grade inflammation around the scalp. Hair follicles rely on tiny blood vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients, and when those vessels become stiff or inflamed, follicles receive less support even if nutrition appears adequate. This process happens quietly and is especially common with aging stress and diets high in processed fats. Nuts and seeds play an important role here because they provide vitamin E, zinc, and healthy fats that directly support blood flow and inflammatory balance. Vitamin E acts as a fat-soluble antioxidant, helping protect blood vessels from oxidative damage and supporting smoother circulation to the scalp. When circulation improves, follicles are better nourished and less likely to exit the growth phase prematurely. Zinc adds another layer of protection. It supports tissue repair and helps regulate the oil glands surrounding hair follicles, which are essential for maintaining a stable scalp environment. Low zinc levels are commonly observed in individuals experiencing increased hair shedding, particularly when diets rely heavily on refined foods. Nuts such as almonds and cashews, along with seeds like pumpkin and sunflower seeds, provide zinc in a form the body can use steadily over time. Equally important are the anti-inflammatory fats found in certain seeds and nuts. Walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds supply omega-3 fatty acids that help calm inflammatory signaling within the scalp. Chronic inflammation disrupts the normal hair cycle by keeping follicles locked in a resting state, even when other nutrients are present. By reducing this background inflammation, follicles are more likely to re-enter the growth phase and remain there longer. From a clinical perspective, improved circulation and reduced inflammation often show up as less scalp sensitivity, decreased shedding during washing, and more consistent hair texture before any visible thickening occurs. These changes may feel subtle, but they signal that the scalp environment is becoming more supportive rather than hostile to growth. As we move forward, it becomes clear that circulation and inflammation control create the conditions that allow growth signals to be received properly. Once blood flow is supported and inflammatory stress is lowered, the body can respond more effectively to nutrients that directly stimulate hair production itself. 5. Eggs, keratin, production and growth signaling. Once circulation is supported and inflammatory stress is reduced, hair follicles are finally able to respond to growth signals more effectively. At this stage, the limiting factor often becomes whether the body has enough high-quality building material to produce new hair. This is where eggs play a uniquely important role because they deliver multiple nutrients that directly support keratin production and follicle signaling. Hair strands are composed primarily of keratin, a structural protein that depends on a steady supply of essential amino acids. Eggs are considered a complete protein, meaning they contain all 9 essential amino acids the body cannot synthesize on its own. When protein intake is inconsistent or of poor quality, hair follicles are among the first tissues to be affected as the body prioritizes vital organs over hair growth. Eggs help prevent this imbalance by supplying amino acids in a form that is easy to digest and efficiently used. Beyond protein, eggs are one of the richest natural sources of biotin, a B vitamin, closely involved in keratin synthesis. Even mild biotin insufficiency can weaken hair structure, making strands more prone to breakage and shedding. Most biotin is concentrated in the yolk, which is why whole eggs provide greater hair benefits than egg whites alone. Eggs also supply vitamin D, a nutrient involved in hair follicle cycling and growth phase activation. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to various forms of hair thinning, particularly with aging and reduced sun exposure. In addition, eggs contain selenium, a trace mineral that supports antioxidant defense and thyroid balance, both of which influence hair growth indirectly. Another often overlooked nutrient in eggs is choline, which supports cellular signaling and membrane integrity. Adequate choline helps follicle cells respond appropriately to growth cues rather than remaining inactive for prolonged periods. From a clinical perspective, consistent egg intake often leads to stronger hair fibers and reduced breakage before any visible increase in density occurs. This reflects healthier keratin formation rather than rapid regrowth. When follicles receive reliable protein and signaling nutrients, they are better equipped to remain in the growth phase and produce stronger hair over time. As we move forward, this consistent keratin production becomes critical because once growth signals are active, the body must have sufficient structural material available to support long-term hair restoration. 6. Fatty fish. Omega-3. Support for active follicles. Even when nutrients are available, many hair follicles fail to grow simply because they remain trapped in an inflammatory environment. This low-grade inflammation often develops quietly with age stress, hormonal shifts, and dietary imbalance, keeping follicles locked in a resting phase even when protein and vitamins are sufficient. In these conditions, hair growth slows not from lack of fuel, but from signals that suppress normal follicle activity. Fatty fish play an essential role here because they provide omega-3 fatty acids in their most biologically active forms, EPA and DHA. These fats are incorporated directly into cell membranes, including those of hair follicle cells, improving membrane flexibility and cellular communication. When membranes become more responsive, follicles are better able to receive growth signals instead of remaining inactive. Omega-3 fatty acids also help regulate inflammatory pathways that disrupt the hair cycle. Chronic inflammation can shorten the growth phase and prolong the resting phase, leading to gradual thinning and increased shedding. By calming this inflammatory background, omega-3s help restore a more balanced environment where follicles can remain active for longer periods. This effect is gradual, but it supports sustained hair production rather than short-term changes. Fatty fish also provide highly digestible proteins supplying amino acids needed for tissue repair and hair structure. In addition, they are a natural source of vitamin D, which plays a role in follicle cycling and immune regulation within the scalp. Low vitamin D levels have been associated with reduced follicle activity, particularly later in life, when sun exposure often decreases. Another key nutrient found in fatty fish is selenium, a trace mineral that supports antioxidant defense and thyroid balance. Thyroid function strongly influences hair growth rate and texture, and even mild disruption can affect follicle performance. Selenium works alongside omega-3s to reduce oxidative stress that may otherwise weaken follicle function over time. Clinically, the earliest signs of improvement from omega-3 intake are often reduced scalp sensitivity, less shedding during washing, and more consistent hair texture before visible thickening occurs. These changes indicate that follicles are no longer suppressed by inflammation and are better prepared to sustain growth. As we move forward, controlling inflammation and supporting follicle responsiveness becomes critical because once follicles are active, long-term hair health depends on meeting the body's most basic requirement for growth. 7. High-quality protein, the foundation of hair growth. At this point, all supporting systems may be in place, but hair growth will still struggle if the body lacks one fundamental requirement: adequate high-quality protein. Hair follicles are among the most protein-dependent structures in the body, constantly synthesizing keratin to produce new strands. When protein intake is insufficient or poorly distributed, hair is one of the first tissues to be deprioritized because from a biological standpoint, it is not essential for survival. High-quality protein provides the full spectrum of essential amino acids required to build keratin and maintain follicle structure. Sources such as poultry, fish, eggs, and Greek yogurt supply amino acids in forms that are easily digested and efficiently absorbed. When protein quality is low or intake is inconsistent, follicles may enter the resting phase prematurely, leading to gradual thinning that appears months after dietary patterns change. Another important factor is protein distribution throughout the day. Hair follicles require a steady supply of amino acids rather than a single large intake. Long gaps between protein-rich meals can trigger muscle and tissue breakdown, including hair protein, particularly after overnight fasting. Providing protein consistently helps shift the body into a maintenance and repair state rather than a conservation mode that suppresses hair growth. Protein intake also interacts closely with hormonal signaling. Adequate protein supports the production of growth factors that influence follicle cycling, while chronic protein deficiency can elevate stress hormones that push follicles toward shedding. This balance becomes increasingly important with age, when muscle mass naturally declines and protein needs often increase rather than decrease. Clinically improved protein intake rarely produces instant regrowth. Instead, the earliest signs are reduced shedding, improved strand thickness, and hair that feels more resilient during daily care. These changes reflect healthier keratin synthesis and stronger follicle anchoring rather than rapid increases in density. When high-quality protein becomes a consistent foundation, all previous nutritional supports can function more effectively. Circulation inflammation control, micronutrient delivery, and follicle signaling depend on having sufficient structural material available. Without it, even the best dietary strategies remain incomplete. As we move toward application, this foundation helps explain why sustainable hair recovery is built not on single foods, but on daily nutritional patterns that support growth over time. 8. Daily Hair Nutrition Framework. How to apply and stay consistent. After understanding how each nutrient supports hair growth at a different biological level, the most important question becomes how to apply this knowledge in a way that is realistic and sustainable. Hair does not respond to occasional efforts or short bursts of doing everything right. It responds to consistency because follicles operate on long cycles that depend on steady signals rather than sudden changes. The foundation of this framework begins with protein. Each day should include reliable sources of high-quality protein spread across meals rather than concentrated into a single serving. This ensures a continuous supply of amino acids for keratin production and follicle repair. Around this foundation, fatty fish or other omega-3 rich foods can be included several times per week to help maintain an anti-inflammatory environment that keeps follicles responsive. Daily meals should also include vitamin C-rich fruits and dark leafy greens. Vitamin C supports collagen activation and protects scalp circulation, while leafy greens improve oxygen delivery and cellular renewal. These foods do not need to be consumed in large amounts at once. Smaller regular portions are often more effective than sporadic high intakes, especially as digestion and absorption change with age. Nuts, seeds, and eggs fit naturally into this framework as supportive elements rather than focal points. Nuts and seeds help stabilize circulation and inflammation, while eggs provide compact nutrition that supports keratin synthesis and growth signaling. Rotating these foods throughout the week prevents monotony and reduces the risk of nutritional gaps. What matters most is not perfection, but rhythm. Skipping days, overcorrecting, or frequently changing strategies can disrupt the signals follicles rely on. A simple pattern repeated over weeks allows the body to recognize stability, which is when repair processes become more efficient. Clinically, women who follow a consistent framework often notice reduced shedding, first followed by improved texture and strength, before visible density changes appear. This progression reflects how hair biology works, moving from internal stability to external results. By focusing on a daily structure rather than isolated foods, this framework supports long-term hair health without unnecessary complexity. Hair health is never the result of a single food or a quick fix, but the outcome of daily signals your body receives over time. By supporting structure, circulation, oxygen delivery, inflammation control, and protein availability, you give hair follicles what they need to stay active and resilient. Changes do not happen overnight, but with consistency, many women first notice less shedding, stronger strands, and improved texture before visible regrowth appears. If this video helped you see hair loss through a clearer, more practical lens, your support truly matters. If you'd like to help this channel continue creating research-based content for women, a small donation is always appreciated and never expected. And if you found value here, please like this video, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for spending your time with me and for taking steps toward caring for your health with patience and respect.